Good morning again from the team here at Inovonics. I'm Eric Banghart, Manager of Global Sales, and thanks for logging on for our 6th edition of the Weekly Cup Series. This week, we start a co-hosted portion of our series with some of our distinguished partners doing a deeper dive of how their products and systems integrate with the Inovonics wireless sensor network. First up in this partner series is René Bergeron and Charles Pitman from Genetec. Louis has been with Genetec for 3 years, working with best-of-breed partners to identify opportunities for strategic integration and collaboration. Charles has been with Genetec for just over 5 years, starting with the automatic license plate recognition team and joining the strategic integrations team in November 2018. Co-presenting will be one of the hardest working men in the virtual show business, our territory sales manager, Sandy Fisher, who covers the Rocky Mountain Territory stretching into Canada. This trio will take us through how Inovonics products can be connected to the Genetec Security Center, utilizing our EN4080 IP gateway and BACnet interface, and showing some of the unique use cases in utilizing this integration. As always, let's keep it interactive, so please ping us with questions or through chat, and keep an eye out for poll questions. We'll get to your questions live or have someone circle back with you. With that, please welcome Louis, Charles, Sandy. Take it away, fellas.
Hello, I'm Sandy Fisher with Inovonics Wireless Corporation. Today we're going to talk about our newest integration, the ability to communicate Inovonics wireless events directly into Genetec Security Center. This interface is accomplished with BACnet, which we'll talk about first. Then we'll go over some use cases with the Security Center demo of each one, followed by a concise overview of Inovonics wireless hardware. You can ask questions by entering them into the chat box or the question box, and we'll get to them at the end. And we'll have a couple of poll questions as well. BACnet stands for Building Automation and Control Networking Protocol. Now, this is an interoperability standard created for building management platforms. It connects various hardware devices, software, and sensors together, regardless of who manufactures them. It's truly an open standard. Now, BACnet is embraced by ASHRAE, the main professional association for the building automation industry, just as ISC, ASIS, and CANASA are to the security industry. We are seeing a convergence of building management and physical security occur more frequently. Now more than ever, commercial and industrial business concerns want to operate as efficiently as possible, and their systems being able to communicate with each other helps to achieve this goal. The healthy mindset of this interoperability standard is what makes BACnet so widely adopted today. Both Inovonics and Genetec have developed BACnet capabilities. Genetec can communicate with BMS platforms, and so can Inovonics. Inovonics created this capability so that our wireless sensors can be seen by most BMS platforms. This enhances occupant comfort, energy savings, as well as other advantages. So using this protocol, we tried to hook up an Inovonics wireless gateway to a Genetec Security Center network, and because we both adhered to the published standard of that protocol, we discovered that it works, especially for security and life safety sensors. All right, let's go ahead and pass it over to Charles of Genetec for an overview of Security Center.
All right, so just before we move into the demos, we wanted to give everyone a brief introduction to Genetec and our flagship product, Security Center. So we started developing video surveillance technology a little over 20 years ago. And just as people were starting to see the potential of network technology, but analog remained an incumbent tech in the area. And as we started to do that, one of the things we noticed was that about 70% of security activities are common between platforms, right? So this is your access control, you can think of emergency response, you can think of ALPR, or even emergency communications as well. So all of these, people want to kind of see them in one holistic fashion, but typically have them in disconnected systems. They're looking at video in one place, they're looking at their access control feeds in another, and they're trying to connect to people on intercoms or by telephone at the same time, which leads to a lot of wasted effort in their actual interventions. So what we decided to do is start unifying those activities. And while we began with some of the core technologies like access control, video, and LPR, we began very quickly to realize that there's a lot of opportunity to unify things beyond those core systems and expand from there. And so we looked at unifying them not only vertically, right, from the edge to the server, but also horizontally through different types of systems, right? So we build on a unified core platform. We have our different modules, and then we've extended to some others over time, including intrusion, looking at card holder management as well in a broader sense, and looking at things like maps and other more global supervisory roles. And then we add to that a broad ecosystem of partner add-ons, including Inovonics, that allow us to really deliver more richness, both in the data that we're able to receive, but also the responses we're able to provide. From there, we touch all of the edge devices that are bringing in the data and the systems that coalesce all that information, finally presenting that as a unified security interface. And what does that look like? Well, we're going to go into a few of those use cases and the specific way that this takes life within Security Center, but I wanted to give everyone a bit of an overview to start of what this can come together to present, right? We've got not only kind of a video tile and then a stream of events, but really we're presenting this in a fashion that's more intuitive to the user. Map-based interfaces, you can see different types of devices and entities on there, from doors, cameras, to inputs. You can even see a cash register there, as well as some standard intrusion and building automation sensors like lighting and temperature. So the idea here is really that we're not just giving you a single piece of software that brings it all together, but we're presenting it in a way that is smooth, seamless, and intuitive. But we can't do that alone. And I think it's really important to bring up one of our CEO's quotes here, which is that what we're striving to do is deliver a continuous flow of clever innovations by achieving excellence in execution and enhanced cooperation with the best of breed in our ecosystem, right? This is not a journey we can go alone, and the more we can get good partners to walk the path with us, the better the end result is going to be. So I'm going to pass it off to René, who's going to walk us through a few of those different types of partners before we move into the use cases.
All right. So as Charles alluded to, I mean, Genetec is primarily a software development company, although we do have some hardware components. But primarily we have a lot of internal application and platform groups that are targeting key features that are addressing global requirements of very specific vertical applications. On the other hand, my team with Charles and our R&D team, we're strictly focused on integrating external systems with Genetec. So here we're showing a few key integrations that we're integrated with. And what I really want to focus on is the building automation protocols that are listed here. Because that's where the value of the Inovonics system comes in. All of those four protocols are unified under a single industrial IoT product umbrella. And the reason for that is because they're sharing a lot of the same architecture and back-end capabilities. So only the transport layers differs. So these protocols, they've been integrated with Genetec already for 2 years now, but we're seeing more and more demand and various opportunities of integrating different solutions. And that's why over the last year, or recently, six to 9 months ago, we've increased the pace of development for these type of integrations. And now we're coming up with new releases at approximately every 6 weeks or so. And so right now, what we're going to be showing is the latest version, which is version 4.3.2 of the BACnet plugin integration. And so we'll see the type of integration that we can have with BACnet, the compatible devices like Inovonics, and all of the sensors that are compatible with that. So it's really, really interesting what we can see, what we can do with those type of technologies. At that point, I know we have another poll question on this subject. So Nikki, if you want to put it up. I guess one of the questions, of building automation versus security systems, one of the questions that we have is, well, are you currently monitoring your BAS or BMS sensors? And if so, who monitors them? So we're just trying to figure out, is there is this a niche requirement, or is this really a trend that we're seeing where we need to integrate the two components into a single operational platform?
Great.
We'll a few minutes to answer your exam question.
They're still coming in a little bit here. Maybe just one more moment. Okay, it looks like we're slowing down. Great. Okay, I'll go ahead and share this for you.
Okay, it's pretty spread across everything. Facility and departments, combinations of, yeah, okay, good. So to maybe illustrate a little bit more, we're covering three possible use cases that could be applied to either of those scenarios where an infrastructure might need to be monitored by a security system, or where a combination of the two would benefit one system, or about sharing information or being able to manage workflow across the enterprise. So with that, I think, Sandy, you're starting off the first use case, and I'll let you take over at that point.
All right, I don't know what happened there. Okay, so here's our first use case. So we do have a few use cases. Each of these have some things in common: to monitor life safety and environmental sensors, to bridge the gap between operational and security data, and to guide operators for a cohesive and consistent response. So here's our first case. The VMS servers and IT equipment must be kept cool. And if there is an air conditioning failure, the equipment can overheat, resulting in damage and downtime, compromising the operation of the system. A high temperature alarm can alert a response to prop open a door, turn on a fan, and make repair to the environmental system that keeps the servers and switches cool. So, Louis, show us what it looks like. You're on mute.
There you go. So there you go. So we had a quick video showing exactly, we're going to go baby steps across the three use cases. Simple use case where we have I don't have access to the play button. Can you press play, Sandy, for me? Okay, there it is. I just find it. There you go. So those that are familiar with the Genetec interface, we have since 5.8 a dashboard interface that you can customize to your liking. And what you're seeing right now is we're able to place sensors on the map. Each sensors have a state. Right now they're showing as normal state because that's the icon I choose to represent a normal state. Each sensors can have a camera attached to it, so I can view the camera associated with that specific sensor. And in that particular use case, what I'm going to show is right now I have a temperature sensors of 65 degrees, but using my simulator, because that's how we created this video, I'm going to crank up the temperature to 71, and that automatically trigger a high temperature state change of that sensor as well as in the background, we don't see it here, but as well in the background, creating an event into my monitoring platform that can trigger an alarm or a different workflow initiations, so that someone can actually take action based on that event. So right now, what we're seeing as part of the latest integration is the capability to define a rule engine to have the plugin behave based on values that are read by the BACnet integration. We can customize different state based on the values of the sensors. We can customize the icons look and feel based on the actual rule engine. And we'll see eventually in the next releases what also we can do with those plugins, but the dashboard capabilities also brings a quick visual interface so that we can clearly see the state of my system in lifetime. So with that, I think we go on to the next use case, Sandy.
Okay, so let's talk about wireless motion sensors. In addition to general intrusion detection, in challenging scenes, a camera's video motion detection, or VMD, can yield false positives, taking the operator's focus from actual events. So here's a couple of examples. At night, when a camera's automatic gain control turns on, this can introduce noise into the picture. And the resulting pixel changes can be misinterpreted as motion. Also, moving foliage outdoors can also be misinterpreted as motion. So an appropriately selected motion sensor can increase the accuracy of motion detected video, reducing the operator's distractions. And show us what it looks like.
Yes, thank you. So same interface, not the dashboard view though. We're looking at the monitoring view, and if you see at the top right-hand side, an alarm is going to pop up. That is triggered by the motion detection of Inovonics. It automatically creates an alarm into our monitoring task and pops up the associated camera feed that was attached to that Inovonics sensors. So right there, an operator can have an immediate view of what triggered the alarm, as well as the video associated with that area. So at that point, for those who are new to the Genetec interface, that video tile gives us a couple of control functions, going back and forth with the video, pausing the video, exporting the video, slow down the video, so the operator can expand and interact with it. And as soon as he identified that the cause of the intrusion is valid or invalid, and so he has the ability to acknowledge the alarm. And that is a normal workflow process of Genetec at that point, all triggered via a external sensor. Okay,
here's our third use case. So these are for panic and duress alarm signaling. So when a school experiences a threat, such as a violent attack, civil disturbance, or even the proximity of a dangerous animal, we get a lot of bear alerts here in Boulder, Colorado. An administrator would activate a wireless portable panic button, and this alarm can initiate lockdown by the access control system. Also in the same category, imagine at a university, a high-profile researcher begins a project researching climate change. And as you can imagine, this can be a controversial topic, so that faculty member contacts campus security to request that a panic button be installed. And you know what? They want it by the end of the day. So we know that installation resources are limited, not to mention the high cost of getting a wire to that office, which could be a few buildings away, $5,000 minimum. So the Inovonics button can be installed in minutes, and when programmed into Security Center, activation will alert the system operator to call for dispatch. Let's have a look.
Correct. So here we have a different environment. We're going to be using incident management from our mission control application. So here we have an incident, again, same principle. We had a rule set up monitoring the duress button. It triggered an incident. But the difference is in this particular case is we actually enforce operational procedures to be followed by the operator. So as the event came up, the operator monitors the event, have the ability to verify whether or not it's an intrusion or it's a true duress button. What does the environment look like, and what do we need to do with that specific event. In this particular case, it's a panic event. The operator initiated a lockdown process and also is engaging into a intercom communication with one of the guard station at the front entrance, for example, giving him instruction what the event is about, and how to proceed with intercepting the suspect. And the step-by-step procedures is enforced on the screen for the operator to close and conclude and track for eventual audit purposes. So each step-by-step is customized for incident type, and the operator can then move back and forth and remove the lockdown, remove the threat level, close the incident, and go on to his routine task. And all of that, is done, is customized, is a customized operational procedure that was developed for this particular location or customer preferences. So all of that just to say that, the simple sensor monitoring can, in fact, push different internal procedures in Genetec, and also have the ability to interact as a native event that can be propagated through all the different systems within our application. All of that being able to be retrieved in time by reporting capabilities, and along with the associated video of the events that occurred. So that covered all of our 3 use cases that we wanted to present. There are many more possible use cases that can be talked about. The idea is to just give you a glimpse of the extent of the capabilities and the new feature sets that we had offered with the intrusion. And with that, I guess I hand it over back to Sandy to cover the overview of their product and solution capabilities.
All right. Thank you very much. That was great.
Welcome.
So here is a quick and concise overview of what Inovonics has to offer. So Inovonics is world-renowned, as many of you know, for manufacturing a robust and extremely reliable wireless technology for alarm applications in commercial life safety and security applications. And our wireless range is the longest in this space, provided by our EchoStream platform, utilizing 900 megahertz for superior range or signal propagation, frequency hopping spread spectrum for interference avoidance, and a small data payload, very, very low bandwidth, to maximize receiver sensitivity, meaning you can hear a lower signal, and that contributes to long range as well. We've got wireless repeaters that allow for coverage of very large premises, a number of endpoint transmitters to handle a myriad of applications. Now, in addition to labor cost savings and preserving site aesthetics, never before has the inherent benefit of a fast installation been more relevant. With limited access to job sites nowadays, and for the foreseeable near future, minimizing the installer's time on site is part of a compelling value proposition. The receiver is our EN4080 RF to IP gateway. This resides on the security center network, most typically with an Ethernet connection. It can run on PoE or plug into 110, and we configure it at our factory with BACnet output, and it will connect to security center with the Genetec BACnet plugin. Our repeaters are wireless devices. They take local line power, but there's no wiring between them or back to the gateway receiver. You can go up to 10 wireless hops. Backup battery power is included on board. And this powerful repeater mesh is how we scale to the size of any job site. The transmitter endpoints include door sensors, motion detectors, panic buttons for duress alarm signaling, environmental sensors for temperature and humidity. We have a water detector, which can prevent expensive water damage, a pulse counter transmitter that can be used for people counting or vehicle counting, and even an OEM board for sensor integration, such as Optex I-Series, which I'll tell you about next. So contact your Inovonics rep to get our full commercial monitoring product guide and BACnet Quick Start to see how the configuration process is accomplished. Optex, who happens to be a Genetec integration partner, is also an Inovonics sensor partner. These Optex I-Series units have the Inovonics transmitter built in and are fully battery powered. They include a number of PIRs for outdoor or harsh environments, active IR beams or PE beams for line detection. They have a couple of dual text PIR microwave. So if you want to minimize nuisance alarms in those tough environments, it'll detect on PIR and the microwave snaps on to verify it. Great for perimeters, and they offer a number of choices for coverage patterns and mounting heights. And again, contact us for more detailed information and specs on those sensors. We have an easy-to-use, low-cost survey kit. Now, this is a range testing device, which takes the guesswork out of RF site coverage and repeater usage. Works with an app on your phone, Android or Apple. So I said it was going to be concise, and there it was. So here is the contact information for Louis, Charles, and myself. So now why don't we get to Nikki to take a look at the questions that have been coming in. I'll go ahead and leave this up for a little while longer so you can jot down these email addresses. Okay. And Nikki, what can we answer?
All right, so we do have a few questions, and before I jump in, I just want to clarify again, we have a couple ways of asking questions. You can ask your question in the chat feature. I know a few of you have. There's also that Q&A section. Welcome to use that. Or if you'd actually like to verbally ask your question, you can click the raise your hand button, and I'll go ahead and turn on your microphone, and you can just ask your question. I actually see a raised hand here from René. So René, I'm going to go ahead and see if I can't turn your mic on. All right. And it looks like you're muted, but if you'd like to unmute yourself, you're welcome to ask your question. Let's see. Oh, you know, I see a typed question from you as well. So I'll go ahead and do that then. All right. René, where were you? Okay, so here's what René had to ask. Good morning. Is it possible to integrate the gateway IP device with the EN4080 with the video expert from Pelco?
As of now, that integration does not exist.
Okay. And René, too, if you want to jump in and clarify a little bit more, I'm happy to read more, or you can raise your hand again, and I'll let you talk. All right.
And I'd say, René, go ahead and reach out to me separately after this, and we can chat more about that, about demand for other interfaces in an ongoing manner.
Okay. Next question. I can understand how these devices work with video surveillance, but what other security systems would it make sense to connect to? I'm not sure who wants to take that one.
Could be Louis or I.
Sure, go ahead.
So yeah, there's a few different ways that this could connect to other types of security systems. You can think of, say, if you have license plate recognition at a gate that isn't necessarily connected to it, but has a BACnet interface, you could set it up through that. You can also have things like, you know, when someone badges through a door, connect that to an HVAC system to change the temperature, right? For instance, first person badges in, you start warming up the building so that you can cool it down during the night and warm it when there are people around. That's especially relevant nowadays when people are not necessarily there as much as they used to be. We've also seen some, well, there's actually a really interesting topic that was brought up by one of our colleagues with now there's some demands to sanitize office spaces. Let's say a conference room with a high power UV light that you can install. Some of them are installed in the ceilings, and one of them in particular we saw worked with BACnet. So you could, for instance, say, take an occupancy sensor from Inovonics and say, okay, at 11 o'clock, as long as there's no one in the room, lock the door and start sanitizing. And that way you have that extra level of safety to make sure you're not just, tanning someone for 30 minutes. They are actually making sure that they're going to get out and everyone's safe, right? So there's a few ways you can connect those, and we'd be happy to explore more if anyone reaches out.
Oh, great. Let me see, we've got a few more questions here from Joe. Are the Inovonics transmitters supervised like in other alarm panel interfaces?
I'll take that one. The answer is yes. The BACnet interface does output fault conditions, which would include tamper, missing supervision, and low battery, which is a 2-week advance of a battery that would need to be replaced. So the answer is yes.
Great.
And if I can add, all that supervision, those supervision messages would also be fed back to Genetec and the BACnet interface so that we can also receive the same notifications and warnings.
Okay, great.
Terrific.
Next question, how are the Inovonics transmitters configured into Genetec Security Center?
I'll take the first part and then I'll pass it to one of you guys. So basically, you use a text file, and I recommend editing it with, I use WordPad++, I think. And you grab the template off of the gateway onto a USB stick, you open it up, you add all your transmitters in, and then you load it back into the gateway, and that also serves as a backup of the configuration. And then you also put in some of the IP information and the different object instances, and then when you connect it, they will populate into Security Center, and then you would basically configure them as in Security Center as you would any sensor on the Genetec side. Louise, does that sound about right?
Yeah, so because it's a BACnet, there is the BACnet ID attached to the device. So on our side, on the Genetec, when we want to import these devices, yes, we first connect to the gateway to be able to establish the connectivity, and then we're able to retrieve specific sensors through BACnet Object ID. Each sensors will have a BACnet Object ID. And from each devices, we configure the parameter we want to read. So we want to receive the tempers, we want to receive the temperature, we want to receive the signals. So we can create templates to replicate devices when you have thousands or hundreds of devices, or you can create individual units as you see fit. And each of those are created as a Genetec entity. So for those in the Genetec world, they know that a door is an entity, a camera is an entity. And when you have an entity in Genetec, then you benefit from the platform benefits of attaching a camera, exporting, having the entity view, assign it to an area, and just do reporting based on area. So you have the whole flexibility of the Genetec platform as a normal Genetec entity. So you connect to the gateway, you enroll your devices, and then you set up your rules that you want to trigger based on the sensors, device type, and that's it.
All right, great. Next question from Kevin here. What type of training is available for the BACnet integration?
I'm assuming that's on the Genetec side. So at this point, there isn't any training for specific plugins, but what we do have available, and I briefly mentioned the fact that we're on a 6-week rollout of every new integration we're doing with Genetec on the industrial IoT platform. So the pace at which we're delivering new enhancement is faster than we can release documentation with it. So what we are making available is we have a dedicated support engineer in my team that is assisting customers specifically in setting up their first few BACnet devices or infrastructure. And he's in tune with the latest releases of the firmware and can provide a little bit of guidance and education on how to set up yourself some of those devices with the latest plugins. So we just need to engage with our Genetec sales and contacts, and then we can relay it to my colleague.
Okay. And then Sandy, is there anything on the Inovonics side for available training for BACnet?
I'll just continue on. Sorry, I just saw the other question from Kevin. Is there's no investment required for the engineering side? It's free of charge.
Okay.
And on our side, it's very easy. It can be done over the phone or in a Zoom or a Teams meeting. I'd say reach out to either myself or your Inovonics rep. We can also email you we have a BACnet quick start that lays everything out as well.
Okay, fantastic. Next question. Can you have an EN4080 and EN6080 on the same EchoStream network?
The answer is yes, as long as the 6080 has the repeaters remaining in broadcast mode with a NID of 0. So if you understand the 6080, that makes sense. The answer is yes. And I believe most of those deployments are that way. If you were in directed mode on the 6080, let's talk about how to bring it back into broadcast if that's an option.
Okay, great. And then it looks like I have one last question. So is this only for connecting my Inovonics sensors to a security system? What else could this be used for?
So I'm not sure what we're referring to this component, because specifically when we're looking at what we, Genetec, are presenting is the BACnet interface. So yes, the BACnet interface enables the capability to interface Inovonics, but of course it's BACnet protocol. So any BACnet compatible element, be it a fire panel, be it a programmer PLC device, or a disk tech, or some sort of an HVAC controlling unit, would be able to interface via the same BACnet protocol. So yes, there are definitely a lot of BACnet compatible devices, and they all use the same standard. That's from the Genetec side. So.
Yeah, and just to add on that, I think that one of the things that we kind of believe in with Security Center is that it's more of a platform for visualizing and interacting with different components, be they security devices or not, right? If your main concern is to focus on, more of an operational side, we've definitely done work with folks to manage more operations. For instance, we do a lot of stuff with parking lots and parking garages, where it's not less about security, it's more about managing parking and enforcement. So depending on what you're looking to do, if you're looking to have kind of a single pane of glass where you can bring in these different devices and manage them centrally, that can be a role played by Security Center, despite the security in the brand name.
Exactly.
Okay, great. No, that's fantastic. Thank you, guys. It doesn't look like we have any more questions. Nobody else raised their hand to chat with you. So before I hand this over to Eric for some closing words, in the chat feature, I did provide a link to register for next week's Inovonics Weekly Cup if you'd like to join us. And with that, I'll go ahead and let Eric announce our weekly winners. Kind of
All right. Thank you all. That was excellent, detailed insight into one of our kind of newest connectivity partnerships. So lastly, here are the weekly winners of the coffee gift cards for signing up or attending our presentation today. Tom Gibbons from Southwest Microwave, Mike Young from Beacon Communications, and Austin Nee from Bluepoint. So congrats all. That concludes our presentation today. Please remember, if you're a Genetec fan, you can make Inovonics part of your plan. Stay safe, stay healthy, and happy. Thanks again. Bye-bye.
Thank you, folks.